At United Nations headquarters in New York, every Wednesday evening, a conference room comes alive. But in contrast to the briefings and discussions of the day, UN staff are gathering here tonight for a meeting of music.
I was intrigued by the possibility that in the organization as big as United Nations, there have to be other people who have some musical experiences from before.
Predrag Vasic is the president and music director of the UN Symphony Orchestra of the United Nations Staff Recreation Council.
I used to be a music director and a conductor in a musical theater in Belgrade in Serbia. When I was about 28, 29, in 1991, I came to the United States, to New York, on vacation during the summer. And during that summer, very ferocious civil war broke out in what was then Yugoslavia.
Predrag settled in New York and built a successful career working for the United Nations in information technology. But one day, by chance, he came across an article about UN staff in Geneva who'd formed their own symphony orchestra. Almost 20 years since he'd left his former career in Belgrade, he saw an opportunity to bring his first love of music back to life and back to the stage. Initially, 12 people responded to his call for participants, but word soon spread.
I brought Schubert's Unfinished Symphony. It's a wonderful romantic score from the early 19th century. And we didn't have all the instruments that we needed, but we had the critical ones so that when we played this piece, it sounded reasonably complete. It was a personal rush for me, and I think it was just as delightful and as exciting for the others in the ensemble.
Now the orchestra has over 80 musicians from more than 30 countries around the globe. Principal trumpet Randy Rydell formerly worked in the Department for Disarmament Affairs.
In a way, orchestra is a little bit like a microcosm of how the UN should operate when it's working well. The people playing with the same goals in mind and playing in harmony rather than fighting each other. That's why I like playing in this orchestra.
For their highest profile concert, the UN Symphony Orchestra played to a full house at a gala concert at New York University's Skirball Center for the Performing Arts last May. A 1,000-strong audience had the privilege of being the first to hear the world premiere of Concerto for the United Nations, a piece written especially for the orchestra by composer Brenda Vongova in celebration of the 70th anniversary of the UN. Michael's fiancée, Brenda Vongova, a classically trained pianist who works in the Secretary General's Speechwriting and Communications Unit, performed the concerto solo.
I fell in love with this music.
I remember being in conservatory and I was working on a concerto at the time, and I remember thinking how lovely it would be to fall in love with someone and have this person perform the concerto, the solo, and that's basically what has happened.
Other pieces that night included Tchaikovsky's Swan Lake, as well as works by Smetana and Rimsky-Korsakov. The performance may have ended, but it's not the swan song for this extraordinary ensemble, who'll continue to unite nations in music for many years to come. This report was produced by Grace Barrett for the United Nations.